over the weekend are mesmerizing and ignorant. And to talk about that and much more, always a pleasure to have Meidas Touch's very own Ron Filipkowski joining us right now on the show. Ron, good to see you, my friend. How are you?
Yeah, good to see you too. Yeah. Fox was complaining this morning that the Trump was only shown one time during the broadcast during the national anthems. They were complaining that he didn't get more face time. I thought the other funny part was that Trump seemed very happy. First of all, before the game, he picked the Chiefs to win. He said,
nice pick. Yeah.
With Brett Baer,
yeah,
that he thought the Chiefs were going to win.
Right.
So there's that. But he also took a lot of delight in Taylor Swift getting booed. And he claimed that was because, his take on it was that's because she endorsed Biden during the campaign, when the reality is, it was the Eagles fans that were booing her. It wasn't Trump supporters.
Of course.
She's dating Travis Kelce, right?
Of course. Any reasonable
food Santa Claus.
I agree with you. I wanted to ask you this, since we're talking about the Super Bowl. I understand if you're a professional athlete, you don't want to alienate people. I do get that. But with that being said, were you surprised that Travis Kelce was asked, what do you think about Trump, going to be watching the game live? And his response was, well, it's an honor. I think he used words like that. When all Trump has done has been blasting his girlfriend. Did that surprise you at all?
A little bit, because I don't think that he or his brother are big Trump fans. I don't get that sense from them at all. I think the Mahomes family is, for the most part. But maybe not Mahomes himself, but his family members and his wife. And Trump talked about that the reason why he likes the chief is because Mahomes' wife said that she likes Trump. So
right,
I heard him a little surprised by the Kelce thing. Who knows? Kelce's about to retire. I think that was probably his last game, and him and his brother have this big podcast, and that's his second act. And I think their contract is $100 million or something like that.
Yeah, it's a lot of money.
So that's obviously probably more his focus right now going forward than football.
I tend to agree. I agree with that. What do you make on Fox News today? There were a few ladies on Fox News comparing Donald Trump to the Philadelphia Eagles. They're calling him on social media, Donald Trump, the real MVP. It's really comical. What do you make of some of these comments, Ron?
Yeah, it really is funny to watch them try and co-opt sports, especially, Trump has complained about the NFL forever. He tried to organize boycotts of the NFL multiple times over the kneeling and the Kaepernick stuff. He says it's unwatchable. It's too woke, the whole thing. He constantly complains about the NFL. So him now showing up at a game, first president to show up at a game, by the way, he's trying to sort of wrap himself in the trappings of the NFL, who he's always had an issue with. And the other funny thing is he was talking to the commissioner Goodell last night, and then he immediately after he tweets a complaint about the kickoff rules and said, "This is terrible. I don't know whose idea this was to implement these new kickoff rules, but they need to change." I'm like, you just had a whole conversation in your box with the commissioner, and now you're saying you don't know who came up with these rules? It's him. It's the competition committee. So right. It's just, but yeah, I've chronicled Trump going to football games for many years. Usually it's very strategic how he does it and how he appears. In other words, it's always set up to make sure that he doesn't get booed. The way he enters and leaves and all that. It's very choreographed by his team, but obviously he's never gone to an NFL game. And they asked Joe Biden why he didn't in 4 years. And he said he didn't want to inject politics into sports. But again, these are maybe some reasons why Democrats lose the popular culture wars because of things like that. Well, I don't want to inject politics. Well, politics is pretty much injected into everything now. Right. So if you're just going to say, I'm going to stay away from all sporting events, then you're especially when your opponent is embedded in them, you're putting one arm tied behind your back.
That's a good point. If you're just joining us, Ron Filipkowski from Meidas Touch joining us, talking a little bit about the Super Bowl, politics being injected in it. Speaking of which, let's talk a little bit about the halftime show. Listen, Kendrick Lamar, very talented guy. He's pretty much won every award you could win in the world of music. Yet Matt Gaetz and others, some with racist attacks, even, guys like Charlie Kirk going on social media saying, not really my kind of music. Well, yeah, it's the wrong skin color for your kind of music that you like. But I mean, what do you make of these right-wing attacks? In some cases, I just think blatant racism.
Yeah, I mean, Kendrick Lamar is way too black for MAGA. You know what I mean? Like they don't mind certain black musicians, but it's got to be the right kind, right? It can't, yeah, but
Kanye,
yeah, right. And it's definitely not Kendrick Lamar. So yeah, it was funny because I definitely was checking the reaction to all my MAGA friends on social media, and it was like 95% hate. Just absolutely, they all hated it. It was terrible, and then there was a few that were like, look, we don't need to, Tommy Lauren would be one from sometimes on Fox. She's got a talk show. She was one who said, look, we need to pick our spots. We can't always be going after black culture,
Pick your spots on your racism.
For the most part, it was like 95% negative. Absolutely. They were all saying we need to have Kid Rock and we need to have this person or that person. And they were every person they suggested was white. Yeah.
Shocker. Speaking of white, let's talk a little bit about another photo op with Christi Noem in Guantanamo. You had posted a picture of her looking ridiculous as usual. What is she doing, Ron? What is she doing? If she's at, she's wearing all these outfits with her makeup on and looking like a border security, some sort of cop. She's really not doing anything. Am I wrong? She just shows up with her camera people, takes some pictures with her fake hair extensions, and then let's move on to the next photo opportunity. What is she doing?
Yeah. The ICE raids in general have been a disaster. I mean, the numbers are not anywhere close to what Homan predicted, expected. Trump is reportedly furious. Homan is blaming media, claiming that local media and local public officials are tipping off migrants before their raids. I mean, they just did one raid, I think, in Colorado where they had like 200 agents fanned out for 5 hours straight in this area where there was supposed to be a lot of migrants, and they arrested like 2 people. They did another raid in Chicago where they arrested like 1 or 2 people, and again, hundreds of ICE agents involved. So they're spending a lot of money on these raids, and they're not getting the numbers. The numbers are not any higher than deportation numbers under Biden. So I think they're getting frustrated. And Noem is, Homan's really doing the grunt work on all this stuff, and Noem is doing the photo ops. Because she's not going to get her hands dirty. So we've showed her in a couple different outfits. So I think she has gotten a bunch of blowback, and there are a lot of Trump fans even that do not like Christi Noem. She's not really that popular among the MAGA base. People like her, Nancy Mace, even Marjorie Taylor Greene, that surprisingly, they're not popular among MAGA. I mean, maybe 30-40% of the Trump base likes them, but that's about it, because they kind of make them look silly sometimes. So, but what struck me about this was I think she's gotten all this backlash about her outfits, including from Trump supporters who are saying, like, you're embarrassing us. So she shows up today in Guantanamo with like a sleeveless thing. And I was just shocked at how she looked, because I've seen her a lot over the years. She's always been fairly muscular and buff. She rides horses. She works on a ranch. She goes hunting. She does all this outdoor activity. She's usually looks like she's in the gym a lot, but she looked emaciated, like really bad, like anorexic or like Ozempic addict or something. I mean, she looks like she's about 90 pounds right now. She looks very unhealthy. So I'm not really that concerned about her, but I mean, I think that somebody who's close to her should be concerned in looking at her, because she's really, I don't know if it's stress of the job or what, but she doesn't look good.
You're right. She did look frail. I saw that picture. You're 100% correct. All right, let's touch on Donald Trump's statements, including his Brett Baer interview. I mean, he said so many you-know-what crazy things. I remember when Baer asked him about, these 19 state AGs and this lawsuit, and a judge obviously agreeing with it. Donald Trump called the judge crazy. He went on the tailspin of Trudeau and Canada being the 51st state. He doubled down on that. He's the whole Gaza thing. He's still going with that one about owning Gaza and displacing 2 million Palestinians, even though he has no idea how to do that. I mean, what do you make of these ramblings? It seems like he's getting worse, Ron.
Yeah, getting worse. The interview that he did on Air Force One on the way to the Super Bowl was even worse than the Brett Baer interview, because the Brett Baer interview was edited. I mean, you could tell if you know how to, if you clip a lot, that was a heavily edited interview. There were a lot of cuts in throughout the interview, which is exactly what he's suing what CBS for doing with the Kamala Harris interview, which is, I mean, Fox edits every Donald Trump interview. They never run Trump live. Ever. I've watched hundreds of Trump interviews on Fox. Every single one is edited. So it's just pathetic that he's suing a network for like 20 billion, I think it is, for editing Harris's interview. He claimed that it affected, the reason why he's asking for that much money is he claimed that affected his stock price of his Trump media. So, which is just ridiculous. But yeah, I mean, he took all this stuff one step further. He talked about Canada. He said that the border between us and Canada shouldn't even be there. It's an imaginary line that somebody just arbitrarily drew one day, and after the War of 1812, and it was just, it shouldn't even be there. And we should just dissolve it and absorb Canada. Well, it's funny, he doesn't say that about the southern border. That it's some arbitrary line and people should just freely go back and forth. He doesn't feel that way about the southern border. The other weird thing about Gaza is he said that he would buy Gaza. Like, before he just said we would take it over, whatever, we'd run it, we'd own it. Now he said we're prepared to buy it. So we're going to buy Greenland and Gaza and Panama Canal, and it's crazy. South Africa, he's starting issues with them. He's cut off all aid and cooperation with South Africa. It seems like every day there's a new country. China just enacted their tariffs on us today. They went into effect, the retaliatory tariffs against the United States. The EU, he just threatened a 25% tariff on aluminum and steel because we import a lot of steel and aluminum from the UK and other European countries, Norway. And they're talking about retaliating with massive tariffs on the US. So every day he finds a new country to piss off.
It seems, though, you're correct on that one. What about the MAGA nation, the cultists out there that think he's the master negotiator? For example, Trump made it sound like it was a huge victory with Canada and with Mexico. Ron, correct me if I'm wrong, but Trudeau had already announced the $2.1 billion he was putting into the border back in December. And Mexico already had 15,000 troops at the border, and Trump was bragging, they're giving us 10,000 troops. And somehow that's a victory. And then in the middle of the night, Donald Trump caves into China. Where's the victory here, Ron? Am I missing something?
Yeah, I mean, Mexico gave up nothing. They gave up nothing. I mean, what they both did is they both claimed, they both said that they are going to put troops, put people there, invest resources there that they had already committed to months ago or had already done. So that was number one. Then they both agreed to appoint a border czar. It's like some figurehead position. They're going to give some government title to somebody who's the quote unquote border czar, fentanyl czar, or whatever you want to call it. They give him nothing. So the point about that is that she sees that in China, because then Trump goes and hits them with tariffs. And he sees that and he's like, well, I can obviously see he has no intention of imposing tariffs, because he backed down on both. And the reason why he backed down is because the market's tanked. His big fat cat billionaire investor Wall Street types went nuts because all their companies do business in Canada. All of the senators, Republican senators in the farm country and Maine and places along the border went crazy because their communities all do business with Canada and Mexico. So that's really why he backed down. So Xi in China sees that and he's like, I'm not playing this game. I'm not going to kowtow to Donald Trump and feed his ego. I'm giving you nothing. Here's my, it's like what's the scene in The Godfather? Here's my offer, nothing. And I'd appreciate an apology. That's basically what Xi said. And what does Trump do? He does nothing. So it's just, but the EU thing is even, well, by the way, how did Trump back down? He exempted anything that comes in the country that's $800 or less, which is like, Amazon, it's basically like an Amazon exemption. Any package, anything you buy from China that's under $800 doesn't apply to the tariff, which basically nullifies 90% of the tariff. Right. But she was like, well, I'm not doing that. I'm responding in kind with full tariffs on your companies. And he's not making any exceptions. So actually, we got the worst deal of it with China. But if he goes to war with the EU, that will really be catastrophic, because I read the comments of some of the EU commissioners this morning, and they're prepared to go to war. They are not going to play with Trump.
This is not going to end well. And when it doesn't end well, what will Donald Trump and his cultists do? They'll blame Democrats. They'll blame it on DEI hires. I mean, that's really where we're headed as a country right now. Ron, what do you got working on today that we can look forward to?
I'm trying to untangle the budget negotiations that I'm writing in my column between the Republicans and the Democrats are saying that they're not prepared to do anything to help, and the Senate, Lindsey Graham wants to go ahead and move forward. The Republican senators want to go ahead and move forward with their own budget deal, which does not include tax cuts, by the way, the Trump tax cuts. The House is trying to do it all in one big package. But, Mike Johnson was supposed to have it all done last week. Then he said this weekend. Now he's saying it might be a little while. Government shutdown is March 12th. So we got, a month to go here again. The problem is Mike Johnson wants to wrap everything together. All the border funding, all the no tax on tips, which many people in Nevada seem to be concerned about. That's supposed to be in this package. Again, the devil on that is in the details, how they define tips. Yeah. Whether it's capped, all that kind of stuff. Ridiculous. I have a feeling that this is going to go to very high-end tipped employees that make like $150,000 a year or more. And we'll see how they define tip, because I think tip could end up being like people who work on Wall Street. It could be defined in many different ways. It's not, I don't believe that the benefit of that is going to go to your average server at Caesars.
I've been saying that, Ron, for months now. When he first started talking about it in June, when he did his rally here in June, I've been talking about it then. What if you're an exotic dancer making $300,000 or $400,000 a year on tips? What do we say to that Target worker that's making $8 an hour? This makes absolutely no sense. Kamala Harris had the right plan moving forward, and we haven't even really seen a plan from Donald Trump, but I agree with you. I think this is going to be spelled out, and it's not going to be helping servers and bartenders. I think it's going to be helping people that are already making boatloads of money. Ron Filipkowski, always a pleasure meeting up with you, my friend, every week here. You do a great job at Meidas Touch. Your subscription is a very affordable plan, and your articles are the best, second to none. Always appreciate your time, my friend. Thank you.
Okay, man. See ya.
Appreciate it. Thank you. That's Ron Filipkowski, everybody from Meidas Touch. Does a great job. Subscribe. I'm telling you right now, he is a great writer, journalist, and I always appreciate it when he takes the time to join us.